the search for meaning, the man searching for meaning story. Do you have more story? I want more stories.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about the interesting stories about uh, let's see, making decisions.
Make decisions.
That's a good part. Yeah, making decisions within the desert locust and the honeybee community. Within the desert locust, it's there's really not a leader. Uh,
Really?
they're yeah they march forward almost as if they're an army, and they fly in the same situation. Their increase in their brain size actually gives them some interesting abilities to navigate and not run into each other. That particular effort, though, allows there to be a movement forward through that. Now, from a human standpoint, we see a certain strength when the efforts to go forward are motivated more by, let's say, a desire as opposed to a leader.
Mm.
There's a strength from a well, as you can remember, the desire of a democracy. Once the people of that democracy decide to move in a same direction, they're rather strong, as opposed to if there's a particular um, structured area like a leader. Now that would be in contrast with making decisions from bees. Now bees do a good job of making decisions, but the strength usually has to be propped up through other means. But let me first, well, let me stop for just a second. There is a certain amount of chaos in the decision making that you see of the desert locusts. Um, in my book, I talk about what's called the um, seeking for the center. They've had cameras that'll follow desert locusts where they're always trying to figure out how are they making a decision to go to the north or to the south or to the east or to the west. There seems to be within this massive locus a continual flying toward the center until a decision actually is made for them to move to wherever that next location is. And they can fly 70, 80, 90, 100 miles in a single day. So they've got a tremendous amount of ability to move in that direction. But there's a chaotic way of which they're learning, communicating, discerning where they're going to go from each other, minus a leader. Now, in contrast, you've got decisions being made by bees. Now, a honeybee has a queen. The queen has pheromones. She has a physical presence within the comb, within the hive, that lasts for between 2 to 5 years. Every other bee in that community is going to be there for about 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks. But she is going to be a stabilizing force upon which decisions will be made, the health will be made. Actually, many of the decisions that are being made are because of her health. It's almost like everybody's going, how's the queen? Is the queen okay? Is the queen okay? How's the queen? That particular thing allows the decisions of her central portion of the community to be there. But let's say, and this is, I found fascinating, Brew, let's say that they have to become two hives. Okay. And that's the way they do it. One hive has to become two hives because that's the only way they're going to stabilize and expand their community. The queen will decide based upon the volume of space that they currently occupy that it's just not enough for this upcoming season. She'll take approximately 60% of the beehive population and herself, and they'll move outside of the hive onto a branch, onto a tree. That relocation allows the bees who have just consumed a whole bunch, about 24 to 48 hours, maybe 72, to then make a decision on where they're going to go next. Now, this is where bees are fascinating because what will happen is bees communicate with one another, not only with pheromones, but also with what's called the bee dance. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, yeah. That's how they indicate where to find pollen, right?
Exactly. Where to find pollen, where to find nectar, where to find those things. Well, they actually can use that dance also to find a new home. So now you have this ball of bees that are hanging. Most people call them a swarm. They're hanging from a branch somewhere, um, usually within 100 yards of the first home that they started at. Some of those forager bees will now become scouts, a small percentage of them, and they will start to look not for a new honey source, not for a new pollen source or nectar. They'll start to look for a new home. They'll look for the location of it, how high in the air it is, just how is it damp, is it got a southern facing. They'll then come back to the hive and continue a dance on the outside of the existing ball of bees to demonstrate their concern of that this what they just found is better than what someone else is. And actually the intensity of the dance will be a debate, if you would, of that entire ball of bees of what particular finding was the best. And over that 24 to 48, 72 hours, the what's called leakage of information will reduce the dancing of those people that have found, come back and said, yeah, this is the best home. This is the best one. And the beehive or the swarm that's now hanging from this tree with the queen in the center will fly in mass to that new home. They've made a decision based upon a quorum. They've done this by dancing. They've been able to debate this issue so that with the leakage of information, they have made pretty much a good decision, more than 70% chance of success in where they went to. What can we learn from it as humans? Well, the leakage of information, Brew, is probably the biggest part. Most of us want to die, because we believe so strongly in the decision we've made.
Oh, I
The
thought it was
bees,
about dancing. I thought we need to dance more.
yeah, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe we can dance ourselves into that generation. But what comes is that this leakage of information allows these bees to say, okay, it was good, but this bee over here is dancing a lot harder and a lot more uh, deliberately than I am. There must be something greater there than what I have. And eventually the quorum is made, the decision, and they fly. And it's a fascinating way to watch, once again, a decision being made with about 30,000 insects or so that are hanging in this ball to a new home within 3 days.
Wow. Yeah, it's fascinating. Fascinating. Like and like as I mentioned, like last year I did not took a beekeeping course or lessons, anything like that. But man, I watched so many YouTube videos. Like we just touched the surface right now. Like the swarming, like the different types of classes is like it's we mentioned at the beginning, it's like it's a perfect society because it's very interesting. There's so much stuff going on, and they still produce, and they also produce honey, right? With all of this effort, all of those things that they do, at the end there's your honey, and you can do so much things with honey. You can, like, of course, eat it, you can do like candles with the wax, like such fascinating, interesting little creatures. And
Yes.
what is the most striking for me about everything that we've been talking so far? Like we just talked about like